Why do some women fear having no clear identity? When self-definition begins to feel socially risky, the question may sound abstract, yet for many women, the feeling is anything but. A description that once felt accurate no longer fits, while nothing equally convincing has taken its place. What follows is sometimes called confusion, though that may be too mild a word. For some, it feels closer to exposure. A clear sense of self does more than describe a person. It provides orientation. It helps determine what matters, what can be tolerated, and where limits begin. When that internal structure weakens, even ordinary choices can begin to feel unexpectedly heavy. Part of the difficulty lies in how a stable self-understanding becomes familiar in the first place. Over time, certain roles and qualities become recognized by others. A woman may be known as the dependable colleague, the calm friend, the one who keeps things running smoothly. These descriptions gradually form a shared understanding between a person and the people around her. Because of this, selfhood is rarely entirely private. It also functions as something others learn to recognize. When that recognition begins to shift, uncertainty can feel larger than a simple personal question. For many women, this tension is intensified by the way social expectations have historically shaped female identity. From an early age, being likable, attentive, emotionally perceptive, and accommodating often brings approval and stability. None of these qualities are trivial. Many represent forms of social intelligence. Yet when acceptance depends heavily on them, a woman's sense of who she is can become tied to how manageable she appears to others. This is where the fear can deepen. Greater self-definition does not only bring clarity, it may also introduce friction. A woman who becomes more explicit about what she wants may seem less predictable, less accommodating, perhaps even less reassuring. Of course, this does not always happen. Still, enough women have learned to anticipate relational consequences that greater clarity can feel faintly risky. For that reason, some women remain attached to identities that no longer fit particularly well. The earlier version of the self may feel restrictive, yet it is understandable. Others recognize it. It has history. A less defined sense of self, even temporarily, can feel far more uncertain by comparison. Modern cultural expectations add another layer. Women are often encouraged to develop individuality, though not in ways that disturb too much. Independence is admired, yet often only until it disrupts emotional availability to others. Individuality is praised, though still measured against likability. The expectations do not easily align. Be distinct but not difficult. Be self-directed but still reassuring. Under those conditions, a stable sense of self can become difficult to maintain. Too little definition risks disappearing into the expectations of others. Too much clarity risks unsettling the relationships that once felt safe. The experience is not identical everywhere, of course. Culture, class, and generation shape how identity is negotiated and what forms of independence feel acceptable. Even so, many women recognize some version of this tension between self-definition and belonging. There is also a quieter psychological dimension. For some women, the fear of an unclear identity does not arise only from social pressure, but from a deeper sense that uncertainty itself is unsafe. Where early relationships were unpredictable or critical, the self may have developed around careful adaptation. What appears as flexibility can sometimes resemble vigilance more than freedom. Seen from this angle, the fear of lacking a clear identity may not signal the absence of a self at all. It may reflect how strongly safety has been tied to being understandable to others. Perhaps that is why the experience can feel so unsettling. Without a familiar identity, a woman may briefly feel less legible in the world around her. And when recognition has long been tied to belonging, that uncertainty can carry more weight than the question of identity alone. Clarity, when it forms, rarely arrives suddenly. It tends to grow more quietly than that, through boundaries that hold, preferences that remain visible, and choices that are slightly less shaped by expectation. Over time, the shift may feel less like discovering a fixed identity and more like becoming gradually less willing to disappear inside roles that once seemed necessary.